Welcome to the Way We See It podcast.
where we talk about politics, social justice, and culture.
I'm Tati,
And I'm Ariana.
and we are your host of this podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast. This is episode 38, week 19. We're here. We're ready. It's officially summer weather since last week. I got a tan, if you guys can't tell. Pretty red in the face. Didn't put any sunscreen on today, and it was my one day off. So I'm gonna go to work tomorrow with a tan. Mwah. And Ariana, she's done almost. No, you finished school already.
Yeah, I'm finished.
And now she just has work. Whoop, whoop. Outside. But welcome back to the podcast, everybody. All right, guys. And if you are new, hi, welcome. If you're not new, thank you for listening to us again. I was gonna say that you would think after all these weeks of me doing this intro, I would get used to it and know it off the back of my head, but I still don't. But we're on Twitter and Instagram at The Way We See It with the C. If you don't follow us, make sure you do follow us. We're more on Instagram than our actual Twitter, to be honest. Yeah, and if you want to check out our website where we post our current events, our blogs, don't even worry about it. Our resources, our citations, and everything just on our website. The links are in our bios, on our personals, and on our podcast page if you check that out. And what else is there? We are also on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you can always check us out on YouTube just to subscribe. Watch us if you want to see our cute faces every week. We're only 2 episodes away until season 2 ends. Gonna cry. And yeah, let's get into it. In this episode, we are talking about what the heck has been going on with Palestine and Israel. But we're breaking this episode into 2 parts. So this one's more so going to be with the history of how this all basically started from like literally the beginning. And we're going to cut it short a bit, and we're going to continue more of that tomorrow, but more so from the beginning and why that stuff from the beginning plays a part into how we're paying basically with our tax dollars to fund Israel. So yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you want to talk about it?
When I found out that, the airstrikes were hitting Gaza a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago?
It was not 2 weeks ago already, was it?
Yeah, two weeks ago.
My goodness.
Yeah, because it's like the beginning of May. I was like confused of like, why is this happening? Why are people getting hurt? Why are children getting hurt? I had no clue. I did not learn this in school or high school or anything. And we saw how this was like, like everybody was posting it. I don't know. I saw it a lot on my feed, but I was confused. Like, why are these people dying? Why are these airstrikes going in the air? Why is the Israel government Twitter official page tweeting like a bunch of like rocket bombs and stuff? Um, yeah, so we decided like to, okay, let's do our research and do it right. Most of actually all the research we use are not like American based actually.
Yeah.
Let's do our research, just see, let's get to the bottom of this. This definitely has to be history behind it. And we this is only like an hour long podcast. There's so much details that can go into this. Like I was saying before we started recording, you could like get a PhD of like studying what's been going on.
A whole major, literally a whole investigation.
So we're just touching the, very briefly. But we will be putting links, and there are resources that you can check out. There's books out there, there's documentaries, there's a whole lot of things that you can dive into.
Mm-hmm.
And bring attention to this, and say it in a try not in a whitewashed way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, literally. Oh my god, my eyes like killing me right now. It just got so watery out of nowhere. But no, yeah, 100%. And I also wanted to talk about it because obviously I see the current events and what's occurring over there, and seeing a whole bunch of people repost it. Like I have a friend who's Muslim, and she they celebrate the same holiday, the Ramadan, and like she posts like how Gaza looked in the beginning of Ramadan and like versus how it looked now, and it's literally destroyed. Like literally a picture of how it looked at the beginning and how it looked now, and it's just like it's so sad, like that people are literally losing their families and like, but like I didn't even know what the heck is going on. Like, not that I would be on whose side, but I was just like, okay, I don't want to repost anything, and I don't even know what I'm posting. I don't want to post the wrong thing on top of that and spread false information. So I was just like, why don't we talk about this? I'm really yanking my eyelashes out of my eye. But yeah, so that's why I really wanted to talk about it, because it also seemed like there was just a different thing going on every day with Palestine and Israel. Because one day I'm just seeing the bombs, then I'm seeing something about religion, and then I was seeing something about the U.S. funding them and supporting the wrong side, and I was like, huh? Um, Guys, honestly, with us too, even with the sources we were reflecting off of, which are real life Palestinians that wrote these things on their websites, we checked those out where we got our sources, and they had slideshows and had everything from beginning of their history to like now, and how they've been affected by this. And it's really sad to even read it and see it, and we're gonna discuss it. But then to see that and then see like an article from the New York Times that literally contradicts it, which is like so weird because I'm just like, what? I'm so confused. And so honestly, just a warning, if we are wrong for this information, we apologize, but this is the information that we found on behalf of the Palestinians thus far and what their side of the story basically is right now. So it's basically the Palestinian side right now. So yeah, let's get into it. So first starting off with geography.
Yeah, so just so you can get like a picture of where Israel is located. So Israel is a small country located in the at the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea in Western Asia. It's pretty small. It's about the size of New Jersey, and the capital is Jerusalem. And population is about 8 million people. And Palestine is a small region in Israel of lands in eastern Mediterranean region that includes parts of present-day Israel and the Palestinian territories of the Gaza Strip, and it borders Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. So the whole country, and so in the whole, as Israel borders those other countries. I was looking like at a map of like Israel, and if you look at it, it's confusing itself to look at it because within, I don't know if you saw the picture of the map, but within the map, like there's like bubbles of like, okay, this is like um Israel territory, this is Palestinian territory. It's not like a straight line. Like you see how like there's lines in the United States, like this is like New Jersey, this is New York. There's no like straight lines. It's like bubbles.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like little like
Yeah,
circles and everything.
which makes it complicated. Like, how do you know you're in Israel territory? How you know in Palestinian territory? And it can be dangerous for Palestinians to go to Israel territory and vice versa. So yeah, that's already just as like one small part that shows how confusing it is. Because I don't know why they have like different like bubbles within like I don't, it's a whole lot.
Yeah, guys. And honestly, sorry if you end up hearing a baby in the background. My baby cousin's trying to, my baby cousin, that's my niece. My baby niece is trying to go to sleep right now. But what's called, that's the crazy thing though, because we're going to get into it because Israel was Palestine and everything. And um, we're going to get into it, but basically, that's how Israel became Israel. It literally discarded Palestine, and that's why you see those little bubbles because that's literally what's left of Palestine right there. So you get into it.
Yeah, so like before we dive into the history, like the exact like resource that we use is called Decolonize Palestine, which is a website that's made by Palestinians that Tati mentioned before, and it covers Palestinian history slash politics and also debunks common Zionist myths, which we'll get into later what that means. Um, So we're basically we're discussing the history and then saying our opinions about what we think about it. Um, and then when we get into the main problem,
Sure, but like obviously you guys already know we're gonna. I just had to say this. You know we're gonna say our opinions because that is the way we see it.
yeah, if you guys have different opinions, it's okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
there's just the way
Respect
we see it. C for Sue. I don't know. That's from like Glee or
it.
something. Yeah, you can start the history if you want.
So, according to decolonizedpalestinecom, a common misconception is that some might think that the issue between Israel and Palestine is a holy/religious war. In fact, the main problem is that Palestine folks were and are still suffering under Israeli colonialism. In other words, Israel wants control of the entire country. No, yeah, so that's like the main problem. Or this is according to the website. Some people
Mhm.
might say this is like a religious issue because okay, I don't want to get too ahead of myself because there's more explaining to be done.
I know, but I'm so like excited to just
Like
talk about it because now we finally see like some insight. Is like, wow, did not know this whatsoever. Let's get to it. So yeah, following this, then the main problem. So also according, oh wait, no, I didn't answer that. My bad. So yeah, then continuing, how did the country Israel come to be? So thousands of years ago, even before Hitler used his power to kill over 6 million Jews, between 1941 to 1945, which you would think after killing all those Jews dying, they wouldn't be violent and all that stuff. But in this sense, they were when it came to Palestine. But we'll get into it. Um, during the Holocaust, and Jews were treated very cruel. And before the 1800s, there was hatred towards Jews due to the religious rituals. But after the 1800s, Jews were seen as a different ethnicity. And eventually, in the late 1800s, Jews decided to create their own country because they felt no country accepts them as their own. And this gets into Palestine. Did you want me to continue that one?
yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So, and then this goes into Palestine because Palestine didn't exist until the British Mandate because they were also, um, they were also a part of like some British rule, I believe, or they had a British leader, um, and what's called. However, the name Palestine was first documented more than 3,200 years ago in areas like Egypt, Assyrians, Rome, and Greece. Palestinians are considered an why can't I speak?
Arab people.
Yeah, they're considered like that, but it's urbanized. I searched it up earlier. Palestinians are considered an urbanized people and are part of the indigenous Levantine population. They are people who began to identify as Arabs,
Arabs.
Arabs after a long period of urbanization took place. And according to Free Palestine, Arabs, Arabs, and Jews have lived alongside one another for centuries in Palestine and other neighboring countries. Zionists, however, which is the Zionists is what they are called, however, began moving to Palestine in the 1800s with the sole intent of establishing a Jewish ethno state. That's what they called it. And the state of Israel, which that's what we're talking about. So the basically to sum it up, Zionists came into Palestine and wanted to create their own Jewish state, which eventually became Israel. And these Zionists did not intend to live peacefully alongside of the Palestinian people, but rather they saw them as an obstacle that they had to get rid of in order to establish a Jewish state because the Palestinian people has such a big population and had so much land. They said if they wanted the Jewish state to thrive, the Palestinian people needed to be wiped out. And that was the only way for the Jewish state to be made and to succeed is if the Palestinian people weren't around. And so Zionists began to move to Palestine after realizing how little of land they took up and thought if they ever wanted the Jewish state, they had to begin their process to finally remove the Palestinians. So then in 1902 is when it really all started with Theodore Herzl. He started to gather leaders and he started to gather leaders of governments to help make make the Jewish state, which is Israel.
Zionist is a person who believes in the development and protection of a Jewish nation, which is now Israel. So
Yeah.
somebody that supports, Israel, that wants to control the entire country is a Zionist.
Hmm.
So how did this all start? It was a whole series of events that led to this happening, and let's break it down real quick. So some of these names to remember when it comes to creating a Jewish state and cleansing it uh, of Palestinians are Theodore Herzl, Vladimir Jabotinsky,
Jabotinsky.
and Max Nordau. Excuse me for
Hmm.
pronouncing those names wrong. In November of 1917, Balfour Declaration came about by Britain stating their support for a Jewish state in Palestine. However, once this declaration came into play, Zionist settlers began moving to Palestine in a more alarming rate with large numbers and increased the Jewish population in the area of 7% to 33%. One,
I was also gonna add on to it real quick.
yeah.
The When it says Britain, it's not actually Britain. It's a British secretary that they had, that was part of their government, and he gave them the approval, um, to create Israel, basically, with
Oh,
that declaration.
all right.
So
So
it
they,
was one being, not British, not the British.
so who was it that gave them the land?
His name was Balfour. So his
Oh,
name is a part of the declaration name.
okay.
Hmm.
Once there was a large amount of Zionists in the area, the ethnic cleansing began. December 1947 is when Palestinian villages and neighborhoods began to be attacked and emptied. Yeah, more than 250,000 Palestinians were exiled from their homes by March and April of that year.
Hmm. And so then now a whole bunch of events started happening within the next course of like 3 years, I believe it was. And we're only gonna get into like three, four of them. I think they are. I have eight or seven. So here's the first one. It's called Plan Dalit. In 1948, March 10th, is when Plan Dalit was created by the Haganah to completely cleanse the land of Palestinians and those who completely cleanse the land of Palestine and those who originated from it. And the plan include laying siege, bombing villages, setting fire to homes and properties, expulsion, planting mines of destroyed homes so no Palestinians could return, and along with rape. Like the fact that they even were allowing rape is like insane to me. And many Palestinian families left when they could, in fear of their wives and children being raped. And the Ganaha was split into units with a list of villages within Palestine, that they would each target to complete their cleanse in a fashionably timely order. And then the next event was the Deir Yazin massacre. You could say that one.
Yeah, so also in 1948, the same year, but now in the month of April, was one of the worst massacres in history occurred in Nakba.
Mm-hmm.
110 Palestinians were murdered, burnt alive, and gang raped. Despite Palestinians being murdered, Deir Yassin remained neutral between the two parties and did nothing to help in the village.
Yeah, that one. When I was reading that, it said the people that were burnt alive, like a man was shoved into a stove and burnt alive that way. Another woman, they said, was literally gang raped by multiple soldiers, and literally to the point where they literally tore her into, like literally, like after they did that, they killed her, and she literally was split into two parts, and they were still doing that, which is literally like psychopath.
Mm.
Um, and it's so freaking sad to even have that kind of stuff documented. Um, and then following this, there is Nakba, and Arabic Nakba means catastrophe. Catastrophe, yes. I can't speak recently. In Arabic, Nakba means catastrophe, which is what many Palestinians used to describe the years from 1947 to 1949, where 750,000 Palestinians were removed from their homes and murdered. By the end of 1948, many fled to Jordan or Lebanon, were either dead or forced into refugee camps. And also, according to Free Palestine, the Nakba also resulted in one of the worst refugee crises, with over 7 million Palestinian refugees in the following decades. Most of these Palestinians are not allowed to return home. The right of return refers to the basic human right of Palestinians to return to their homes, but Israel continues to deny them this right. And I think this is honestly something that they still face today, especially with all the stuff that's going on. They still have those camps and hold people as refugees. And we already know the stuff that goes down in refugee camps too, which is not nice. So, that basically sums up these beginning events right now. Before we get into the US, just wanted to say a little quick thing that we're going to say the other 4 events that continued after this, within the last bits of the 1900s, and then continue from 2000 to now to 2020. And we're going to continue that in the next episode. But just want to say that from then, somehow within this time span is when the United States is now involved because of the United Nations. And me and Ariana were thinking, oh, maybe it has something to do with like Trump, and because I remember like him being removed from removing us from like United Nations or something of the sort. And I was just confused. So we were like, did it start with Trump? Did it not start with Trump? Let's figure out. And turns out this must have been going on prior to Trump.
1985, since the U.S. been involved.
Yeah, since 1985 is when the U.S. has been involved, and even tried creating peace agreements between Israel and the Palestine. And what's called, we even looked and we even saw that in 2016, Obama funded Israel with 35
billion?
$38 billion, a health package is what it was. And basically that was for the next 10 years. So they have that health package until 2026, basically, because they got that in 2016. So basically they were splitting it between things. So it was for their government, for their defenses, and even had some leftover money to give to their regular small Israel armies, just or to the people for just regular guns, you know? And what we read in that article is that once they finalized the package, they started to see the stuff between the feud between Palestine and the Israelites. But here's the thing. Everything we just said about Palestine and how Israel literally just colonized them, is literally kicking them out and killing them and all this stuff, the Zionists, it's saying in the article here that it's the opposite, that Palestinians are trying to have a free Jewish zone, like get rid of Jews and claim the land as their own. But it's the opposite. So we're like, what the heck? And because it's when the Obama administration, I'm going to quote the New York Times article, publicly chastised the prime minister for a provocative video in which he accused Palestinian leaders of favoring ethnic cleansing, which is what we literally just talked about, by demanding a Jew-free Palestinian state through opposing Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Palestinians said he twisted reality, which is what we're literally talking about, which is crazy. And the package, once that was out, it's like it created so much tension because it's like you're funding the wrong side. And it became a huge big thing within Obama's presidency, apparently, because I was 15 at that time. I generally was not paying attention to politics. Seeing this is like, what the heck? Like, it became such a big thing. He was like, if he should make an announcement about it, should he not say anything? Would it affect him if he, like, the end of his term or something of the sort, you know? But 2016 is also the year that
Trump
Trump
became
came
president.
into office. Yeah, came into office. So that must have been right before he came into office because this was the biggest health package the United States has ever given to anybody, it said. Also, on top of that. And so then now we're
Yeah.
clearly this is not anything new, but it's the fact that like I wonder like if our presidents, if our government even know like the truth of what's really going over there because they're really funding Israel.
Bro, they know. If we know, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
But
come on.
it's just like you can't be that dense to not see that you're telling me that these small little bubbles of the map of Palestinians, you think these small little bubbles of people are trying to just take over this big country of Israel for no reason? No. It's because Israel was their land, which kind of reminds me of America with Native Americans and pushing them all the way to the west is what I was telling Ariana Grande. So Ariana before. That's what America did when we colonized America. White people, they pushed the natives out of their land over and over again with the 13 colonies when they created the states, pushing them, pushing them, pushing them until they couldn't move anymore. Then they gave them small portions of land within the states, which is literally little to a crumb. And even now, they're still trying to take away those pieces of lands that are still native to them. And half the time, they just get as something as small as a trailer park, which is depressing. And that's kind of what I see here, relating. That's what I'm relating what's happening with Palestinians in Israel
Hmm.
with right now. So it's kind of sad to see that.
Yeah. Like, I think definitely the US giving all this money to them, and I actually found some numbers of the amount that they give to Israel to fund their
Mm-hmm.
weapons and stuff. They definitely like getting something in return back. And like I actually found like a quick list of why they fund them. They're not gonna give all that money. They ain't getting back. They ain't getting shit back from Israel. They giving them something, whether it's protection or like trading money. Like somebody's definitely benefiting from this whole problem. That's why it's been happening for very very long time. Somebody's making money out of this, and there's
It's
people.
literally genocide too at the same time, like complete genocide. It's making me think too. I'm about to ask my grandma, "Did you notice anything sus when you went over there?" She's like, "No," because she went to Israel a few years
Oh,
back.
okay.
Because Jesus,
Yes.
all that stuff.
Yes.
So, Jesus, um, and she said it was lovely there. Whatever, whatever. I'm
They
like,
got
you know,
money. That's why
dying,
they
huh?
got money.
Yeah. They made it look really nice for the tourist attractions. Imagine like tourist attractions on one side, just an hour away in the desert, freaking massacre,
Yeah.
massacre, massacre. But you can get into it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So how is the US involved? So if you pay taxes in the US, your money goes towards weapons that are sent to Israel, unfortunately. The average individual taxpayer gives $25.25 in weapons to Israel each year. According to U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, U.S. taxpayers will give Israel a total of 38 billion. Let me say it again: 38 billion of weapons over 10 years. 3.8 billion each year from 2019 to 2028, according to a 2016 agreement between the two countries. Countries, US and Israel. And if you go to their website, if you go to uscpr.org/military funding, you can actually find out how much US dollars from your county slash congressional district goes to Israel to fund weapons. So you can put your congressional district, the county you live in, and whatever. And I put my information where I live currently, and where I live, $70,536 of taxpayer dollars went to Israel this year to fund their weapons. And Tati, you gonna find yours? Yeah, so I'm gonna say the next part. Tati's about to look from where she lives. So USA's 3.8 billion yearly allocation of weapons to Israel could be better used to fund. So this website has like different things that all this money, 3.8 billion, can be better used to fund 46,982 elementary school teachers, over 2 million people receiving food assistance, 600,000 students receiving Pell Grants, over 1 million children receiving health care, and 51,300 clean energy jobs. Um, so as you can see, 3.8 billion can support things that are actual useful and actually help people. But a lot of this, the money that we make from working our jobs, try to like um, pay bills and all that, and they take those taxes out from our paychecks, and it gets funded to Israel's weapons. So why the U.S. supports Israel? So these are just like the major reasons as to why the U.S. supports Israel. First, national security. Israel is the best intelligence gathering network in the world, and they share information with America. Geopolitical strategic calculations. Having a presence in a shadow belt region is good. Um, Israel's government is like America, preliminary democracy, political parties, and legal system is based on the same foundations as America as well. Military, Israel has nuclear weapons and cyber espionage welfare capacities. So
Girl.
they trying to be friends with them because they want Israel to do something to us, basically.
No, literally. I believe it. But I
Um,
found out how
yeah,
much
yeah. So how fun? How much?
in my area, and mind you, redneck all over here, red state, everything, everywhere.
So
It's
your town where you live is bigger than where I live, right?
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's why mine is a little small because we
Um, but this one, yeah, it's talking about my specific town. It's $1 million. Just a little bit over $1 million that they fund to Israel.
wow, yeah,
I thought that was like the whole like because I live in Long Island, guys. So I thought that was all of Long Island in general. No, no, no. It says the town that I live in. It
yeah,
says this town weapons to Israel 1,024,296. Yeah, big number.
yeah,
That's more than you, which is crazy.
yeah. It's definitely probably has to do with the population. I live in a very small suburban town, so
Oh yeah, that too. But damn, even in your town, where barely they even have a class to graduate high school,
yeah,
they have that much to give.
yeah. I don't know why, but I
It's because I generally think it's because everybody that lives in those areas, like especially where you live, has good money,
yeah,
area. So it could be that too. If you're making a certain amount of money, hello, you're getting more taxes off of your thing.
yeah. But yeah, okay. So after any last comments, I'm just gonna say like how I like think about this whole
Yeah,
thing.
go ahead.
After reading about a bunch of these things that's been going on like in the history wise, I'm on the Palestinian side, honestly, because
Yeah,
call me whatever you want because I'm supporting them, but I'm on their side just because like Israel definitely has more power, and actually they have a thing that protects their side from getting bombed. So like if specifically is the Gaza Strip that sends the bombs to Israel, specifically that area, not the other areas of Palestine. Um when they send their bombs or airstrikes to Israel, they have like an iron dome that like dodges it. Gaza does not have. They have more money. They, as you can see, they get all this money from the U.S. And if you look at the casualties, I don't have the from what's going on like from this month. We'll probably look at the numbers next week for
yeah,
our next episode. More Palestinians died than Israel
yeah.
people.
And that's only recent. But what's called like we'll get into the numbers then. But at least from the numbers that we talked about thus far, and that's not even all of them, from just those 3 years, that's more than a million.
Hmm. And I also don't see it as a war because I feel like if it's a war, they will at least have equal resources. They don't.
It's an
It's
unfair
not
war.
equal. Yeah, it's unfair. People who are on the Israel side might think like, oh, like we never found a place that where we can be our own, because there's the reason why they created Israel in the first place, the Jews, because they couldn't find a
Yeah,
country that
that's the
accepts them.
refuge.
So
I completely understand on top of
yeah,
that. That's why my grandma loves going there. My grandma's like, we're Jewish. I'm like, we're not Jewish. We're Hispanic. What are you talking about? And she's like, it's
Jewish
a religion.
Jewish is not a
And
is not
I'm like, Grandma, what are you talking about? She's like, Jesus was Jewish, so we're Jewish. I was just like, okay, Grandma. But like it's just yeah, like I completely understand like a place of refuge, especially after being massacred. But you would think after being massacred and seeking a place of refuge, you want to be putting a whole other group of people through the same position you were just put through. Like
hmm
it's just like and they've been so consistent with it for more than 100 years. It's just like Palestinians are little to nothing. They can barely find. Now they're the outcast. They're seen as the outcast. They're seen as the people that everybody should be against, and I think it's the opposite. And um, because like at the end of the day, the Palestinians still welcome them into their towns, and they could have just been mixed together. It didn't have to be completely just freaking Jews in one area and Palestinians in the other area. It's the fact that they even think that now, a whole century later, still is just like frustrating. And that's the crazy thing because like United States can fund something like that would not get away with here in America. Like imagine states bombing states. That wouldn't fly whatsoever. But it's the fact that they're funding that happening in their country, like their country, Israel, um, against people that literally lived there in the country that was originally theirs. It's
yeah.
like that sucks. Freaking.
It's because like a lot people, like, they were born there, that their families were born there. They kind of
Their
like
ancestors.
they're born into this problem. You know what I mean? Like, you're born and already the problem exists. You know what I mean? If you were born in a Palestine area, you hate people that live in Israel, and vice versa. It's like you're born with
Why hate?
that.
Why not
Yeah.
be good?
And I feel really sad for the children, especially that are killed. They had nothing to do with this. Like, they just lived there.
Now they're
Their
continuing it
family.
for generations and generations. And this is what also creates terrorist attacks. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, I was 3 years old when my family was killed by, let's just say, the Palestinians, when they bombed Israel, my town. Okay, but what was the history with that? Not saying it justifies it, but that's the sad part that it even has to go to that back and forth part. Like, Palestinians already little to anything, endangered species, and the Israelites too. Like it's freaking sad that they're getting bombed just back. Like they're totally fine with their own people dying, as long as they're able to get like Palestinians out the way, basically. Um, and it's the fact that they're so committed to this like mission. It's just like you're really risking people's lives. But as of right now, I know that they agreed to like have a break between bombing each other, so they can rest up, fuel up their goods, and you know,
Yeah, this ain't the first time I read. This is not the first time they take a break. Things gonna happen again. Who knows when?
2 weeks.
Ay, Dios. I couldn't, man. I'm just trying to picture myself like living in that area and
Girl,
just
we
being
died.
constant in a state of fear, not knowing what's gonna happen next. Sheesh.
Yeah, it's so scary to even think that. There's so many things like really going on in the world. Genuinely, I'm like, I remember wanting to travel everywhere, and I'm just like, I think I'm better off here in New York. The last sad event we really had over here was like 2001. Not saying I wanted to happen again, but knocking on wood, guys, for the people that don't see me. But like, kind of feel 10 times safer here than I would in any other state and any other country as of right now. Because even family from Costa Rica leaving Costa Rica because of the rioting that's going on down there with the government. Freaking now this, freaking
Colombia.
yeah, Colombia. What else? freaking even here in New York though, we got freaking Asian hate crimes and BLM and all the other states, and it's
All
just
those freaking mass shootings, bro.
yeah, that's my biggest fear, to leave the state, curse somebody out in the street because I'm a New Yorker and get shot, and they could shoot me and get away with it. So it's like yay. But yeah, guys. So that concludes part one of I guess we're gonna call this Palestine versus Israel. We'll see. And we're gonna get into the current events real quick, and I'm gonna go get myself a blizzard from DQ because I'm craving it.
Mm.
Okay. So the first current event is the 1 year anniversary since George Floyd's death. On Tuesday, May 25th, marked the 1 year anniversary of George Floyd's death. Very sentimental day. Thousands of millions of supporters and activists and other people across the world acknowledged his death once again by having peaceful walks in honor of him, along with many posting on social media. Floyd's family also spent his anniversary in the White House with the president and the vice president, along with other members of Congress and Speaker Pelosi. Um, Along with that, we also made a post on the day of his anniversary. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out, which is just a day in general we'll never forget, especially because of all the events that occurred in the world since that tragic event a year ago. And I'll just never forget, but a year ago today is when I met Ariana, and we literally, don't cry. A year ago today is when I met Ariana for the first time. Little did I know she would be my co-host partner, um, my go-to for all my tea. She's always waiting here at the beginning of the episode, after the episode, and just never forget the first conversation we literally had was about George Floyd. And it wasn't like a good feel moment, but it's just like we knew we couldn't talk about with our friends at that moment. So to see that there was two people, like a person there that you could talk about it with, it was like, wow, like wasn't that so devastating? It's so sad, like what's gonna happen now? And we were just so invested in our podcast came from that. So it was nice.
It's crazy. It's been a year since George Floyd because I remember a year ago, when I found out about George Floyd's death, I felt a lot of heaviness in like my chest. My back was hurting because how like stressed I was with the whole situation. Um, I didn't really have much people to talk about it with either. It was I was just going through a lot mentally. And I never even watched the full video to this day. I only seen clips of
Yeah.
it because of the news, but I haven't watched the full video to this day. But that whole thing definitely impacted me mentally. Yeah, so now I'm going on to the next current event. Employees from
Yeah.
Rikers arrested for smuggling drugs and weapons. On May 20,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah. On May 26th, according to Gothamist, current and former New York City Department of Correction employees were arrested for allegedly smuggling contraband, including razor blades, scalp. Please, what is that? That's that second word. Illegal drugs into city jails in exchange for cash at various periods over the last 3 years. What is scalpels? What is that?
Scalpels. That's what
Scalpels.
they use in surgery to cut open a person's chest. It's
Oh,
really like a mini knife, but they use it in hospitals.
wow.
Like you ever seen Grey's Anatomy? They're like scalpel, and then they cut open the person's leg, the stomach, whatever, the chest.
Wow.
That usually goes. But yeah, so they were bringing that kind of stuff into there.
One of the employees made more than $40,000 from the deliveries made. Meanwhile, others got within $5,000 to $8,000. All
Hmm.
nine employees currently or used to work at Rikers and the Manhattan Detention Complex. Seven of the nine were arrested in New York, and the other two arrested in Pennsylvania and Virginia. They tried to flee. What they were doing in Pennsylvania and Virginia?
I think they were on vacation. I think they got that money. They were like, you know what? Gotta leave New York. They'll never catch me out here. Living in a home mansion. Probably got their man, the girl, like, yeah, baby, I'll treat you. Joom, joom, joom. Um, they got caught. They had the whole FBI on that.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a huge investigation within the Department of Investigation of New York that they even had to call FBI to help carry it out. The charges many of them face include honest services, wire fraud, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years of prison if convicted, corruption and misconduct, they oh, is that something that you were gonna say?
Yeah, I said
Mm.
they bold for that because the investigation shows that it was a woman that made the $40,000. She was 41 and made that much just within only a year of smuggling those things for them. She did it from June 2019 to September 2020, and I'm just like, yo, like, being a parole officer in security for a prison, um they're gonna find out eventually. The government finds out everything sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why even for my TikTok, it's not our government, but I know they're gonna hear me say like, "Give me anime TikTok again." They'll give me anime TikTok eventually. Um, it's just one of those things you're always listening. They have so many documentaries about how they're always recording our conversations. Make it seem like they're not recording us, but they are. And same thing with this stuff. Like they're watching you. And what else is it? Freaking even places like Target, let's just say. Um, Definitely not in the same area as this, but I mean like in the sense of like still being watched, seen, and heard all the time. That even Target, a lot of people may think they could steal things from Walmart or Target. They're watching you in the cameras, the company itself, and um, they build profiles for people. Sometimes they give you, I think it's like they give you one chance, and then after the second time they see you through the cameras that you did again, they build up a profile for you and show you eventually, like, I saw this thing on social media how this person he had stole from Target specifically, like 14, not 14,000. Like I dragged it. I really dragged it. I think it was like $1,000 worth of things after a while because they caught him on camera throughout a whole year of taking things and getting away with it because sometimes Target would have their security, they don't check the receipts and stuff, um, and they were like, okay, um, you can't even pay us back. We gave you the benefit of the doubt. This is how much you owe us, but we're taking you to court. So.
I gotta tell a couple of people that I know because some people that I know, they be using that Walmart self checkout and they just be, paying for a few things and then just putting the rest of the stuff in their bag without scanning it.
Mhm. Yeah. I know a few people myself. Uh,
I did
Not
not
gonna
know.
say my younger self didn't do it. I did, but like maybe twice. But that's it. That's when I was younger though. But now I can
You know
see
that
everything.
was a thing. Like they built a
Yeah.
profile.
No, there was a point in the Walmart over here, well, upstate in the town that I lived in, they closed the self checkout. So everybody had to go through the regular registers for a while because they started. Because I had a friend who worked as a manager. He was like, "Yeah, too many people are stealing through self checkout. Now we need to mandate it and put people through regular registers." And
Oof. I gotta
yeah,
start warning my people real quick.
yeah, you'd be like, "Oh, I was gonna get these pads for free." Psych. Got to go through the register. And sometimes here's the thing too that they say, if you don't have like big items, they're not going to check your receipt. Sometimes the people that do check your receipt, they're like, "Oh, go, go, oh, stop, check their stuff." It's if you have a whole cart of things, or you have big items like water bottles, soda, um, I don't know, just a lot of bags. That's when they check you. More so if they see you just with one bag, or not even any, they won't check you, which is crazy because who knows, you could have taken the one thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. Be careful, y'all. We know that self checkout is fun, but
That camera be watching you just as hard as you watching it. I'd be like, yeah, scan it, camera. So then, yeah, so the historic verdict in climate change against Shell, which is our next current event. So on May 26th, the Dutch court ruled that Shell is liable for damaging the climate. Whew. This is the first time a major fossil fuel company is held accountable for its role in climate change. The Dutch court ruled that Shell must reduce its CO2 emissions by 45% by 2030. Shout to Melly Defensie, who started this case along with 17,379 Dutch citizens in Greenpeace Netherlands, Action Aid, both ENDS, which is ENDS, Fossil VRIJ, Netherlands, Joggeren, Melu Active, and the Wadden Vereniging. These
Yeah,
company
these
names
are all like
are weird.
from different countries. That's why they think they're
Yeah.
different languages. Yeah, but shout out to them doing that, putting in that work.
Mhm.
One step ahead now.
Yeah, for real. 45% of emissions. That's they got 9 years left to do that. I forget sometimes it's 2021. I feel like I'm still in 2020. But yeah, so that's basically it, guys. We'll catch you next week um, with our next episode. Stay safe, stay clean, and keep it pushing. Stay happy. Bye.
Bye.